Happy Tuesday. I'm just going to have a quick chat and I'm going to leave some links to some wonderful videos that have beautifully spoken out and interpreted the things that have been bashing around in my awareness for a while. And I'm always pondering my own awakening. I think everybody's is personal, and I think it will be a different experience for a man and a woman, even though we acknowledge that we all have both energies within us. Disclosure over, you know, through my experience as a female, I have been interested, turned off by, triggered. Also, you know, I've followed suit in a lot of these as well. More, you know, the darker edges of the feminine and trying to understand that. I remember as a kid being so fucking annoyed when my mum showed weakness. You know, it's like, pull yourself fucking together for your kids. Don't your kids mean anything? It was just so strong, that within me, that I've not been weak. You know, I've had moments of weakness. Of course, we all have, but I am not weak because I changed, because I saw what that did. You know, this whole inner alchemy and the transformation for me, after my fucking forced awakening, my rude fucking awakening, I had to address my own programming and how it got there, and then release the guilt and the judgment attached to that. But identifying how it got there in the first place, and then going, oh shit, I can't do this to my kids. You know, I had two very, very small kids, like 3 and 1, you know, when I had this sort of forced awakening. And it was so like, oh my God, you know, because everything is invisible. The energetic transference of many pains and traumas and loops and traps and ways that we perceive ourselves and the world are through this invisible epigenetic energy of our parents and our experiences that envelope us. You know, it's almost like it happens. It's like it's nobody's fault. But if you're aware of it, you have the opportunity not to project that genetic karma and those loops of the energy, the denseness, onto your offspring. You know, that's when you have the chance, when you've identified it, you know, within, but without as well. You know, oh, it came from me that way. Oh, now it's within me, and now I need to get it out of me again. You know, it's a process. So I've always been super interested. Also, nearly everybody that has ever had anything to do with me, I've not had that many friends and you know, relationships or acquaintances or things like that. I've always pretty much been a bit of a loner. But there's always been huge problems with the mother figure. And so it's really interested me, you know, how much just you know, I felt when I had my children that the weight of the responsibility of not continuing these certain cycles of martyrdom, victimness, sacrifice, codependency, suffering, misery, trudging on through, accepting all these things. And so acknowledging these within me, you know, inside of me, and then sort of working my way through them. It's been a lot of what my journey's about. And I've said before, you know, everybody's different, but my kids were the catalyst for me awakening. And I think, and I'm always thankful that it happened sooner rather than later, because had it been any later, fuck knows how dense I would have been then, you know. But the kids, they teach me, and I learn from them through the invisible exchange of energy. It's all that input output, and how much accountability we're having for our energetic field, our electromagnetic field, our aura. And a big part of it all for me was acknowledging this the invisibleness of it. You know, it's like you don't have to be saying anything for this energy to be directed, you know, for good or for bad. So it's becoming hyper aware and conscious of your own choices and your decisions, and how you choose to hold the energy in and around you, to physically change the chemistry within your body. Psychedelics helped me, I've said many a time, you know. The first time I had magic mushrooms, like 95% of my anxiety had disappeared. It disappeared, you You know, things were going on, altering in my body, in my chemistry. My neurons were finding new ways, new pathways. You know, it's all malleable, it's all doable. And you know, we don't all need psychedelics, but what we need is to study the things that help. And you know, I feel like that's where I'm at in the game. You know, I'm super interested. And where my other interests come into play is that I'm really interested in the collective consciousness and the mental health of people. And I've said before, hands up, when I had my fucking forced awakening, I had a week of 2 weeks actually of spiritual crisis, psychosis, where I thought I was the chosen one and the world was going to end and everybody was around me. And I think I even threw a fucking clock into the bin because I thought it was listening to me. I had everything switched off at the plugs, you know. I was living in such fear and paranoia that I had stepped into my own self-created hell. And, you know, luckily enough, I worked my way through it quickish, sharpish, I wanted to say, you know. I got through it. It's not sustainable. It's not of the purest good, you know, to be in that perception, that frame of mind. So I've kept my eye on a certain few people who I've resonated with throughout different communities in this crazy online world. And I've watched their journeys, and some are very much parallel to my own, and that's a really beautiful thing. I've also watched a few others sort of fall into the whole saviour complex thing and, you know, dragging themselves out, but again, getting pulled back down in there. And that's pretty meaty to poke through. And so I like to do that. I've acknowledged that in myself as well. And, you know, I feel like I am here to not join in and jump on the bandwagon in terms of fantasticalizing things, you know, false hope, false light. It's like, that's not what I'm here for. It's the opposite. It's to ground, and it's to glean the wisdom from the experience of the expanded consciousness, the multidimensionality. That's where you find the wisdom. And then, you know, the task is to bring it back down to earth and interpret it in a way which suits your soul, your essence. So whether that's painting or singing or speaking or writing or dancing or fucking making plants, you know, whatever it is, that's how we express, and that's what we're here to do. And that's how we create and build with consciousness as well, directed consciousness. So basically, I feel like I am feeling and witnessing the collective ramping up again, you know, the fear, which it is really fear, that drives the packs or the groups into different paradigms with different get-outs. Either Jesus is coming to save you, the rapture's happening, or there'll be a plasma apocalypse, and if you've got a soul, you're good, you know? So it's like, there's obviously there's many more ways. There's a million different ways we can paint this, but it still screams to me like you're waiting for a get out. I personally, I feel like I'm good. I don't need to focus on any numbers, think about any apocalypses. If it happens, I'm done, I'm fine. I've had, you know, I think we all have our own little dreams and, you know, visions about things. For me, a lot of these, and again, I'm not saying this for anyone to resonate with, because I understand this is my own interpretation of things through my own lens and perception, which is always going to be different to somebody else. But I've had many dreams of like being alive after an apocalypse. There's usually planes around, you know, and I'm ducking and I'm missing and whatnot, but it's like there's no one else around, but I'm good, you know. So and I'm calm. I've always been calm in an emergency, so I'm good. And you know, obviously I've got a young family and I don't want anything to happen in the physical, but I always think to myself, if it did, we'd be fine. We'd be absolutely fine. You know, I'm not scared of chaos. And I think this was the beauty of Orset's chat last night, and how she's talking about that is the female, you know, the chaos, the spiral. And it's been contained and suppressed by the masculine cubed consciousness and the patriarchy, without blaming again, for so long, when really the chaotic feminine soup of the universe, you know, the pot of creation, is there for it to expand, and it will create its own natural order from that. We don't need forced order. Humans, we don't need it. It makes us suffer. That's what, you know, has made us suffer. So yeah, her video is fucking wonderful. If you've got a bit of spare time, I would watch it. And yeah, David Palmer, the Leo King, he had an amazing Raw video this morning as well. And he was having a bit of a rant, again, about this type of thing, about the fragility of the mental health during the spiritual awakening, and how there is a line that can be tipped over, you know, and don't allow yourself to go for it. Don't allow yourself to be fooled by it. It's happened to us time and time again. He says, I don't remember, because in 2012 I was still firmly in the matrix, you know, I was, God knows what I was doing, probably eating raw steak and watching fucking Coronation Street, who knows. But he was sort of in this community then already, having experienced his awakening, and he was talking about watching these people before 21st of December 2012, you know, thinking and hoping and wanting to be transported into some light body in some other realm, and watching the disappointment when the reality hit home that no, you're still here. And so for me, I feel like everything is an experience of consciousness. This is the whole game. It's the game of consciousness, and we create our own scenarios and stories and scenes and games, you know, so it's up to us how we want to do it. There is no saviour. There's no fucking saviour. We are our own saviours. We're our own demons as well, you know, so it's time to sort your shit out. 11:44 I saw then, you know, and I'm feeling this as well. It's for me. I've spent a long time scrutinising the darker polarities and the seedier or the more toxic polarities of the feminine energy, because it's what was shown to me everywhere. That, you know, when I was awakening, I was embodying the goddess side, the other polarity of the feminine, you know, the strength, the courage, the power, the wisdom, the strength, you know, and so I've been balancing these. But what I've just come to realise over the last few days is that while all this has been going on, the masculine energies in me in particular have been taking a fucking big back seat, and I've needed them all along, you know. I was, like I've said before, you know, I was pretty accustomed to masculine energies growing up. I was a tomboy. I wanted to play football. I liked hanging around with boys. Girls bothered me, you know, and now I know that there was a lot of underlying hidden resentment and jealousy, you know, from my part, because I thought I wasn't that, you know. So I'm saying there's a lot of that, but I'm just telling you my experience, you know, and this is what I've been working through, and trying to make sure that I am not that toxic feminine. I'm not. And so the only person now who can sort of prove that, even though I've got the, you know, I've got the mental clarity of that, the physical manifestation of that is not quite coming into fruition. And it's because I need my masculine to step forward, you know, my masculine energies to combine now with the more healed version of the feminine, in order to create, you know, to make manifest my dreams. And so, yeah, Tobias Laws was sifting through guilt and shame the other day in a really wonderful way, and he just so happened to be portraying the story in a way that really made me laugh, but he was using the typical mother, you know. So it's this again, and you know, it's really interesting to me when I look at kids' stories and things like that, and just how it's always, you know, mother dies, evil stepmother comes in, and just how evil stepmother has been used and overused and manipulated in so many different situations, as has, you know, as Orset said, the female side of the Christ energy. And yeah, so Tobias Laws's videos were wonderful, completely resonated again, you know. As a female, we have to study and be aware of these toxic traits, the putting of guilt onto another, especially if you're a mother, you know, the mother's guilt. You must come and do this for me. Come and see me for Christmas. I'm your mother, all that. You know, this is what Tobias was talking about. So for me, what I've been doing and learning my whole life is really, I think I've been shown, experienced through myself and as witness to another, many different archetypes of the female. And, you know, I'm releasing guilt, judgment, blame, shame, any of that. And I'm working my way back round to being whole so that my masculine energies can, you know, they can come together and help me move forward. But yeah, it's super deep. I would like to talk about this for hours, but I don't have the time now. But for me in particular, just keeping my eye on the mental health of things, you know, just be wary of how much of other people's information you're taking into your system, because this is what shifts and makes things murky, you know. I think it's pretty foolish if anybody gives a time or a date for something. I've always laughed about this. I think it's irresponsible and stupid, and, you know, it's kind of attempts to drum up some event in terms of directing consciousness and everybody's energy and thoughts on dates and times. You know, I understand that this is what happens, but yeah, I'm not expecting any scenarios, you know, end of world apocalypses that happen like that. I think that we are in the midst of the change of eras. We're not sure how long or short that period may be, but we are in it. Whether we're at the start of it or we're at the end of it, it doesn't matter. We are definitely in it. But what is the point, you know, with any more? What are we doing? What are we doing, you know? We are here. David Palmer said in his video, which I'll put down below, he said, why would you come down here to Earth if not to be seen? If not to be seen and heard, what are you waiting to be rescued or taken to a different realm or dimension for? What are you here for? We're here to hold the space and, you know, be the light and show the way in very small and very large ways, depending on how we want to express that. And yeah, it's just crazy, crazy times. I'm in a sadistic little jokey way. I'm kind of looking forward to the 22nd of December, you know, where potentially there might be a few red faces and tails between the legs. You know, if there's not and everything's over, then everything's over. But I don't think that's what happens. I don't think that's what works. I think everything is a very personal relationship and song and dance with consciousness and energy and the unseen. And I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to be a fool. I just don't know certain things, and I don't even want to pretend I do. And I definitely don't want to manipulate anybody else's minds into anything but earthly ease, you know. Let's just chill out and stop getting so fucking away with the fairies. Things are wild. And so much is primed in our consciousness. I like to think about this a lot, including synchronicities, because I get very typical synchronicities and signs. And like I've said before, the shared experience is what I like to look at, the patterns, and to ponder how the patterns get there and what the patterns actually are in terms of certain numbers you see over and over again, or affiliations with crystals, or, you know, emerald green or indigo, or, you know, all these different labels and terms and things that we do, the shared experience, which is what holds us all together, because we are all one, but we are explaining and experiencing very individual aspects of that. And the best we can do is just be true to ourselves and just get it out in however we can and however we want to. So I guess that's what I'm trying to do through these videos, is just stay true to my soul. It's like, I feel like, you know, the circle is closing. For me personally, 2020 feels like a year of you've got to fucking do, you know, thrive to survive. No more waiting and thinking and shadow work and this, that and the other. It's like, get out there and fucking do it, because that's what you came for. So I'm working myself up for that. I just wanted to do a little video and share some wonderful videos underneath. So check them out and have a lovely day. See you soon. Bye.